And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. It's Gerald Glassford coming back at you here from the Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, as well, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. And in the show, Chris Ardieri and I from Inside Sports Fantasy Football will be covering NFL free agency and how it will affect your fantasy football team. That'll be coming up later in the show. Plus, also, as well, of course, the Lakers fast break. And, of course, all the great things that we do each and every time out at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. So if you could like, share, follow, and subscribe. Plus, give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcast so we can be on all the algorithms and isms and what-isms and Google-isms and Facebook-isms and Instagram-isms and TikTok-isms and whatever isms. If you can help us out with that, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend, my compadre in crime indeed. She is the evil, pigtailed mastermind behind, of course, the great shows that she does today as far as Vampires and Vitae, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and more. Don't tell her husband that, Robbie Ross, because, he works so hard on it, but she is going to take all the credit. It is a good friend indeed. It is, of course, Melinda Ross. And Melinda, great to have you here, my friend, talking pop culture once again.
Absolutely. Good to be back.
Absolutely. So I hope you've got your running shoes on because you're going to have to be running, because of the Godzilla versus Kong versus whatever is going to go out there as far as whatever they're facing, as far as all the kaiju and the monsters out there. But seems like
all of the city infrastructure.
Exactly. Watch out, all these natural wonders of the world, those pyramids and all that stuff I've seen in the trailers, because it is Godzilla X Kong, the new empire that came out on Thursday night to $10 million in previews. So it's going to do very well this weekend. It's going to do pretty much above what expectations were raised. It may even do about $80 million at the box office, similar what it could do, what Dune Part 2 did. So we'll see what happens. But your thoughts? I was thinking that with the mediocre at best reviews for this film, plus the fact that there's been so much Godzilla that has been introduced over the past, not even a calendar year, let's say 7 months, 9 months, with all the Godzilla on TV and movies that have already been put out there, having this come out there, I thought it would you'd see some burnout, you'd see some fan backlash, but evidently that's not the case.
Yeah, those who like it a lot. Those monster movies definitely have their. So let me compare it a little bit. So in radio, right, you learn very quickly that your most dedicated and loyal fan base are country music fans. So when you're working for a country radio station, the fans of that station tend to have a little bit more of a personal connection to the radio personalities because they only listen to the country music station and they never stray from that. With you're a pop music fan or a rock music fan, there's a lot of channel surfing happening there. Yeah, exactly. Very seldomly do country music fans do that. So what I'm interested in is, the Venn diagram of I'm never changing what I like with the overlap of country music and these monster movies like Godzilla and Kong and that kind of stuff. Because I bet you that it's actually a really big overlap. Anyway, that was just a random.
No, that's actually a very good insight, because you're right. That's obviously what Warner Brothers is thinking and Legendary is thinking when they, put out Godzilla X Kong, is because there is quite a bit of overlap, because you're talking about huge supersized monsters battling it out, whether it's against each other, whether it's against another entity. This case, Godzilla and Kong, they're teaming up against other kaiju and going against a group of them along with Diddy Kong. So cute, so cute. Can't wait to see the Funko Pop of him. Yeah, absolutely. So had to get that in there, but it just tells me that there's going to be more of it, and I'm not sure. I'm personally not a huge fan. Godzilla minus one is was great,
Mhm.
but the recent TV show on Apple TV, Monarchs, Monarchy of Kings, and then also as well the New Empire, they don't appeal to me. It just
Right.
not appeal to me because I could only see so many because I've seen so many bad versions of Godzilla.
Mm.
Maybe that has turned me off. I've seen so many bad versions of King Kong. Maybe that's why it's turned. I'm limited on my appreciation for this because of the fact that again, we've seen so much done in this genre already that it's so hard for me to get up constantly within the past 9 months now 3 times at least where we've had to go ahead and get up for this kind of genre movie.
Yeah, and it's definitely I think a genre that people find, they discover, and I think that they just stay with it. And I like the stay with it crowd. I think it's great.
Well, it will be great because it's going to be a pretty solid opening. In fact,
Hmm.
probably even a very good opening above expectations. The $10 million previews as far as overnight here domestically could lead to 130, 140, even possibly $150 million opening, which would be the second best opening of the year.
Right.
Right now it's targeting, so that would be great news for Warner Brothers and Legendary. So, yeah, absolutely looking forward to seeing what Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire does as far as statistically. I again, the tepid reviews aside, it's I want to say that these are the type of films that I don't want to say that the review proof, but they're pretty darn close to it, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even it's I think it's comparable to how I feel about Star Trek, right? Even a bad monster movie is better than no monster movies. And
Okay.
I feel that way about Star Trek, where even bad Star Trek is better than no Star Trek at all. So, there may be a little bit of that. Perhaps the Venn diagram should be country music fans, monster fans, and Star Trek fans, and we'll see how everything crosses over.
We'll see how it all crosses over, but I do want to go ahead and say it is Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. It is leading obviously into more Godzilla X Kong get-togethers, or their fight-togethers, or they fight against each other, or whatever. They're going to continue to go ahead and do more of them because it looks like it's getting off to a better than expected start. So we'll see what happens. But if you're watching Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we hit the break, I wanted to go ahead and ask you. You said Star Trek, bad Star Trek, or good Star Trek is better than no Star Trek at all. Variety had a big article on what the future of Star Trek was. And we've always, from time to time, you being the resident Trekkie that you are, have talked about the future of Star Trek. And we always love touching on it. So it looks like Variety, in a great big article, touched upon what the future of Star Trek will hold with Section 31, Star Trek Fleet Academy, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and more. Obviously, the goal is to appeal to a younger audience, trying to get them. Same thing with Star Wars. All these long-lasting entities, it's not about just appealing to our generation. They've already done that or not
Yeah.
done that. At this point, it's already
Mm.
fixed. It's appealing to a younger generation and seeing that IP continue to expand instead of fade away. I think that's the goal. So, when you read that article in Variety on the future of Star Trek, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts going through it, especially as someone who
Oh dear.
are you there?
Yes, I panicked. Oh my god.
My gosh. Yellow alert! Yellow alert! Yellow alert!
I was absolute panic. I was like, "Oh dear."
I felt like yes, photon torpedoes ready on
Yeah.
this one.
Giving her all she's got, Captain.
Yes. So, what are your thoughts on the future of Star Trek as reported on by Variety? How encouraged are you on what's on the roadmap ahead?
Well, just that we're having this conversation is enough to have me kind of excited as a Star Trek fan. I've
Hmm.
I've believed in the IP for as long as I have been watching Star Trek, and I you know we've talked about it a lot too, where it just hasn't felt like um, Paramount has really taken Star Trek seriously, and that they don't feel like they've really kind of given Star Trek the chance that it needed to prove that it can be successful on a larger scale again. So when I start to hear stuff like the series that's going to be based around Michelle Yeoh, when you start talking about the Starfleet show, I mean those are all things that we've as Star Trek fans have been really interested in. And it's always one of those things that's continually in the background. It might not get a reference, once or twice a season if you're lucky. Um, I mean, the whole Wesley storyline that they did with the big accident when they were showing off in the shuttlecrafts and all of that stuff with Starfleet Academy. So we've always kind of stepped or put our toes, I suppose, into those ponds. And if they're going to try to make it work, I'm glad to see them taking a chance on some of these smaller, you know, pockets that you can tell interesting stories from with Star Trek. So I hope that with the Starfleet show in particular, we get to see a new recruit come in, and then it's almost like they're going to be teaching Star Trek to this new group of fans that are coming into the show. So I think that's very clever in a lot of ways, and it may set them up as well to feel more comfortable going back into, let's say, the next generation with its notorious technobabble, and be able to, I'm going to hesitate to say understand, but be able to at least cope with some of that jargon. I hope that it does a little bit of that and exposes people to it a little bit more in a way that might not be so intimidating.
Now, the Section 131 movie covering some of the time that Michelle Yeoh, Academy
Hmm.
Award winning actress, spent on Discovery and her time there working for the secret organization they're in. It's going to be a TV movie. It was planned to be a series, but unfortunately, her time schedule only permits so much time to go ahead to devote to certain projects. And it's
Yeah.
actually played out to be a TV movie, which could lead into another TV movie. It was quoted in the article. So let's hope for that. And let's hope it is a big success on Paramount Plus. It is going to be very interesting how that lays out because that still leaves out the biggest question of all, and which they alluded to in that article, Variety did, was the fact that there has been no major film, major motion picture that has actually 100% resonated on and in the cinemas to the
Yeah.
tune of over $500 million. The original Star Trek film, the reboot of Star Trek film, excuse me, in 2009
Right.
has been played ad nauseum all over the place. It's absolutely
Hmm.
one of the most watched films on cable, on broadcast, on whatever format you've said as far as outside of the theaters since 2009. That has been understandable. Into Darkness obviously played very well too, but neither of those movies, no matter how appealing to a broader
Hmm.
audience, did not generate the kind of huge overlapping hit internationally that you were hoping for or that they were hoping for at Paramount. So tell me your thoughts on what they need to do to go ahead and cycle through this to get a major motion picture, because I think that's the last piece. They are focusing that with Star Trek Prodigy. They did try to focus on the much younger audiences with Star
Yeah.
Trek, Starfleet Academy. They are trying to approach younger audiences,
Hmm.
10, in teens, 20 years old. They're trying to get them into a series that they can call their own. Star Trek Strange New Worlds is absolutely brilliant for what it is.
Hmm.
But that's the last beacon right there. What do they need to do to get that done?
I'm really not sure what the secret sauce is to have a Star Trek film be successful in the theater at the box office. I'm really I don't know what it is, and I don't know why it's traditionally had such a hard time with that adaptation. It puzzles me, so I'm sure that it must puzzle
It's
the
the
people at
final
Paramount as
frontier
well.
in more ways than one.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't know if it's um relying on the same writers who are perhaps thinking more TV than they are thinking cinema. I don't know if that's where it's coming from. Because I know that Jonathan Frakes has been involved in directing at least one of the movies. Um, and I just don't know how it's going from like the production crew of the television versus the um, production crew of the movies. I think
Mhm.
that perhaps they need to be separate entities, but they need to share the lore between the two of them to make sure that it lines up. I'm always going to say that the first phase of uh, Marvel, when the first phase of movies were coming out, and we had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on TV, and they were able to take everything and connect everything together. If Star Trek could pull something like that off, I think that it would again become a must see series. And you may be able that way to get something out of uh, the movies that way.
Well,
If
there
you
is a
set
new
something up,
there. Well, I'm just going to say this now. They
yeah,
have hired a new writer after
yeah,
new writer after new writer, but they just Variety reported that there is a new writer for whatever Star Trek 4 is going to be for
yeah.
now. But I don't even believe until I actually see a trailer coming out.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
believe that Paramount will okay anything at all until we actually see it come out. I'm just absolutely convinced that they're very hesitant to go ahead and put $200 million on the line for an entity that has never, ever, even how good 2009 Star Trek is, they've never been able to prove themselves to an international or worldwide box office.
I wonder if the problem is that the budgets for the movies are too big. And
Uh,
that said, I know that feels counterintuitive, but perhaps some of the magic is being lost in your ability to just do it in post. Maybe they need to go back to having things be a little bit more practical on the set. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I really can't see what that answer is. I'm just glad that there's not as much lens flare in the shows anymore. I'm glad that that went away.
Well, I will say this. Jonathan Frakes said it best in that article. If you remember
Yeah.
his quote, I'm paraphrasing, but his paraphrasing was that Star Trek, the fans that he meets are more our age, and
Yes.
he rarely meets fans of the series that are in the age that's needed to have the series going at a healthy fashion. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens, but it is the future of Star Trek. What are your thoughts on Star Trek? Is it starting to look more like something that you might be getting into? Or if you're a longtime fan, are you happy with the directions it's going? And your thoughts on what a Star Trek movie that you think would connect with a worldwide audience. Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But my friend, before we head on out, thanks so much again to Chris Sardieri from Inside Sports Fantasy Football, dropping his knowledge on NFL free agency. But before we head on out, Melinda,
Hmm.
wanted to go ahead and mention to you about the, I guess, just best of television so far this year, quite possibly just originates or is about the country of Japan. Because
Yes.
if you have not seen Tokyo Vice and Shogun, you are sadly missing out on some of the best TV this year. Your thoughts, Melinda? I know you've seen Shogun.
Mhm.
Please let us know your thoughts on Shogun so far.
I mean, I feel like you can add the Blue Eyed Samurai into that pile of just
But that
fantastic
would be
stuff.
that was 2023 for me.
Oh, okay, sure, 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 sure. But okay, no, I love everything that's coming out of Japan right now. I think that Shogun is a masterful piece of television.
Godzilla minus one is 2023 too. That was
Yeah,
outstanding.
yeah. So I just think that if you aren't at least taking a chance on some of these shows that, we talk about. Why? What is holding you back? Go and watch. It's so good. And you can, I know Shogun people are like, oh God, I saw subtitles. I'm just not a subtitle person. I'm not into that. They do have a full on dub that you can watch that has everybody, speaking English and you don't get lost in it. But to me, it adds such an interesting twist to the show, and it helps you to feel as out of place as, the sailors do when they first arrive. So I think that it does add an interesting layer of realism, I guess, from the
I like
perspective of the
that's the
women.
way I prefer it. That's the
Yeah,
way I
same.
prefer watching it.
Yeah.
I've seen all the episodes to date. It is
Mhm.
simply outstanding.
It's
FX
so good.
has
Yeah.
won again with this outstanding series, Shogun. And it is, obviously from the book that was made many years ago. And then there
Mhm.
was already a Richard Chamberlain miniseries that was done around 1980 that was at the time extremely popular because
Yeah.
television miniseries at that time on broadcast television were like a special event,
Mhm.
and they were treated as such. So it has absolutely been done with some care, with some love.
Yeah.
And again, we're not finished with it yet, but what we've seen so far through 6 episodes has truly been outstanding, Melinda.
Yeah, it really has been. And the amount of times that my nerdy little heart has been so happy that because I find something in every single episode that I can apply to my LARP character. She has dropped some chilling quotes from Shogun at LARP, and it's been really fun. I have no shame actually about it. I'm quite shameless, but no, it's such a great show. And there's something about the show for everyone. There is the will they or won't they stuff that's happening. There is
The
uh,
forbidden love.
oh my gosh, yeah, and it's so good. All of the political stuff is really interesting with
Mhm.
resigning from the council and all of that. That's been really interesting. It's a show that you never know where it's going to go, and you're never really, I don't think, going to understand who is pulling what strings and what strings are attached to which characters. That's
Yeah.
kind of where I've been trying to figure out the show, and I think I have some of it untangled, but definitely not all of it.
Well, before we head on out, my friend,
Mhm.
again, Shogun, please go ahead and catch up if you have not already. FX, Hulu, and Disney Plus, they're all playing it.
Yeah.
It has been a tremendous hit for FX, Hulu, and Disney Plus. You do need to catch Shogun. It is absolutely a very loving remake. We always talk about the remakes on the show. You, me, and Josh, we always talk about the remakes about, oh, here we go, another 80s remake again.
Yeah.
This is one that has been done right and
Yeah.
has been done well. So
Yeah.
please go ahead and check out Shogun. Catch up on the 6 episodes before the season ends. It is truly worth your time. Also, want to make mention before we head on out, the most under the radar show that you're not watching now. It is the best show you're not watching. It is Tokyo Vice season 2. It is available now on Max. It is something that you have to see. Talking about it was actually it's about a reporter, about a Gaijin reporter, American reporter that goes to Japan and works for the major newspaper there, and goes basically inside, tries to report on the absolutely just mind-boggling stuff that goes on with the Yakuza in
Right.
Japan and the control that they have over the entire country, and the tight foothold it has on there. And I'm just going to say right now, it is just so good. The season 1 was good, was really good. It was actually part of my best of pop culture of the year. It came out, but season 2 has came out strong. Yes, and absolutely, it is a must watch for anyone there that's interested in. It is M rated, so sorry, cool bro. It is something I cannot recommend to you as a
Oh
15-year
no.
old, but but you seem to manage to find your way through M-rated stuff anyways. That's all on you. But it is for anyone out there that's over 18, it is truly a must watch because it is really good. The intrigue, the way the storylines interweave with each other, where the characters' story arcs interweave with each other, the battling rival gangs, the one power that is now rising as far as the gang warfare is concerned, the corruption within the police. Ken Watanabe, the just seasoned veteran that he is, absolutely trying to go and fight his way through the corruption in the police to get what he can do to stop the Yakuza. And then also, when it comes right down to it, I was really skeptical at first when I started watching this show, because I really thought that Ansel Elgort,
Yes.
who yeah, I know who doesn't have the best reputation out there, but he what he was going to do for this is just like this kid going in there. He has done a sensational job, because as the lead character, as the guy that goes into the foreland, reports on this, risks his life in doing so. This is based off a true story. The actual reporter is one of the executive producers. Michael Mann is one of the executive producers. The laundry list of executive producers is like a hierarchy of Hollywood. It is
Right.
absolutely well done. It's something you have to see out there. If you have Max or able to get a hold of Max, it becomes highly recommended. It's a binge watch. Watch all you can in the season. You're only up to, it's about 18 episodes now. So if you can catch it, please do so. Tokyo Vice, the most poorly advertised on Max's part, but best show you're not watching right there, Melinda.
Absolutely. I have it written down, so it's going to be added to our must-watch pile.
I'll tell you what, though, it's been great talking about it, but please go ahead, if you can, check out Shogun and Tokyo Vice, because these are some of the best shows on television right now. I'll have a chance to talk to Don Fobbs, hopefully my TV expert, here in the coming days about that, plus also Three Body Problem and more. Go ahead and check out our interview then. But Melinda, it's been a great conversation. But anything you want to go ahead and talk about before we head on out?
Yeah, I if you haven't given Shogun a chance, I think that you absolutely should. It's so good. It's so worth your time. It truly is. And yeah, we are working away with Vampires and Vitae and Wizards and Wine. The Shadows of Larkovnia we played last night. It had been such a long time since we got together that we actually only played for about 90 minutes. The rest of the time was just a bit of a gab sesh. So when that episode drops, it'll probably be about 30 minutes long. But no, we're having a lot of fun with both games, and things are pretty tense right now for Vampires and Vitae, waiting to find out what's going to happen with Rose's new child. We'll see how it all goes.
We'll see how it all goes, my friend. Looking forward to that. But have you had a chance to check out Three Body Problem yet on Netflix before we head on out?
Yeah, we have been. I think we watched it, and now we haven't watched all of it. Let me back up a little bit. We've watched like the first 3, 4, maybe 5 episodes, and then we've gone back and rewatched the first 4, maybe 5 episodes, because if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I had a hard time tracking it the first, I was like, I
You're
don't
not alone.
understand. Yeah,
You're
I was
not
like, I
alone.
don't understand how that storyline is connected to that storyline is connected to that storyline. But now it looks like everything is starting to come together, and the picture is starting to get a bit clearer on it. So, I mean, it's great, but it is a bit of a struggle when you're looking at scientists, and then you're looking at like stuff that happened in the 40s, and then you're in the future.
It's in the 60s, but no, I don't know if it deals with, I think it deals with the present, but it's talking about, spoilers, alien invasion that's impending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind you, it's going to take place a long time down the road,
Yeah.
but still they have an influence in today's society in several different ways. And yeah, it's very different. It's very reverent. It's from the guys who created Game of Thrones,
Yes.
and it's something that is compelling at times. It was a good watch. There were some special effects on the couple of the last episodes that kind of turned it down for me.
Right.
But overall, it's a good watch. It's a good,
Yeah.
strong watch. It is hard to get a hold of at times, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's worth your time. So
Yeah, for sure. And it is worth, going back if you watch the first 3 or 4 episodes and you're like, I don't quite track this. I think it is absolutely worth your time to go back and give rewatching those few episodes a chance before you give up on the series. Because when we went back and watched it, there had been a couple of things that I had missed in the very first episode that as soon as I saw those scenes, I was like, okay, now everything that makes a lot more sense. So you do have to be paying attention to the show. Don't be doing that and then working on a crossword puzzle and talking on Facebook Messenger. Don't be doing that while you're watching the show. It does need your attention.
Well, definitely looking forward to hearing more thoughts from you on how it finished up in 2 weeks, because we come back in 2 weeks. Next week, I've got John Orlando for the PVD cast, where we're talking and previewing WrestleMania. But we got 2 weeks ahead. I want to hear a full report from you on Three
You got
Body
it.
Problem, my friend. So,
No problem.
all right, maybe get Robbie in on it as well. I want to hear Robbie's thoughts on it as well, because it is
Yeah.
the thing right now on Netflix. It's one of the biggest shows of the year. It's Three Body Problem on Netflix.
Yeah, and Robbie will be absolutely down for looking at the show and kind of taking it apart a little bit. I mean, that is what he went to school for. So he definitely has a different perspective on a lot of the stuff that we watch together. I'm like, yeah, it's a good show. And then he like takes it apart philosophically from the director's point of view. We can get into some pretty long-winded conversations sometimes just about TV shows.
So, any last thoughts before we head on out, my friend?
Yes, watch Shogun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Tokyo Vice. You are missing
Yeah.
out on some really good television.
Yeah, that's you know what? I'm not doing anything else today, nothing else on the docket, so that might be what I do today.
There you go. Dune Part 2 for you yet?
Gosh, no, I'm working on it though. We're getting closer.
All right. As long as we're getting closer, that's all I can ask.
I will send a photo of myself in line at the movie theater when it happens.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. Hopefully with your husband.
Well, obviously, yes.
Oh, you can send him to go watch something else, like Godzilla X
I
Kong or something.
Yeah, no, I think that if anyone was going to have to miss Dune, it would be a travesty if it was Robbie that missed it.
Okay.
He adored the books is what I'm trying to get at. I never read the books. I've just been enjoying the movie. So
Yeah, so send him to Godzilla X Kong just as
yeah,
punishment.
just
instead.
go.
I know this is the movie you really wanted to see, but
Yeah.
I'm sending you somewhere else.
But yeah, I need your movie review from that one, not this one.
Yeah, there you go. So from Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great